Thank you, Jim. All right, huh? In the sound check, I wasn't this loud. I'm sorry. I'm already blowing it. All right. I am so grateful to be here. I have 10 minutes. Who's that? Oh, my gosh. Is there a PowerPoint somewhere? How many of you would rather not see the PowerPoint? You might get your wish. I wasn't going to talk about the PowerPoint anyway. No problem. So, I am here and I'm happy right now, not because I wake up that way, but because I have had a conversion experience that I go through and I need to go through on a daily basis. I'm here tonight to talk about those of you who are a little rough around the edges. And I'm grateful to have a chance to think about my brand, thanks to what Josh shared. My brand is that I am a figment of my own imagination. So there you have it. I facilitate a workshop called the Get Real Workshop, and it's 6 steps to taking responsibility for what you want. And I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is growing your sphere of influence. Anybody at all entrepreneurial in here? Okay. I mean, you don't have to be. All right, for those of you who aren't entrepreneurial, how many of you just don't like having a boss? Okay. All right. Is there anybody else? All right, I think there's enough people to defend me for what I'm about to share then in case some people don't agree with it. And I'm going to share from my own experience. My favorite joke in the whole world is that there's a guy whose horse was sick. So he goes to see his buddy at the bar. He's knocking him back at 10 a.m. in his regular spot in the office, right? And he sees his pal walking up looking kind of depressed. He says, "What's the matter?" He says, "Well, my horse is sick." He says, "No problem." He says, "My horse was sick too." "Oh, great, what'd you do? What'd you do?" "I gave him some turpentine." "Great, right?" Runs back, gives his horse some turpentine. What happens? Yeah, horse dies, right? So now back to the bar, he's even more depressed, right? Guy's still sitting there taking his appointments for free advice, right? "How's your horse?" "Well, I did what you said. I gave him some turpentine." "Oh yeah, what happened?" "Well, he died." "Yeah, mine too." Okay, so that's a setup for what I'm about to say, which is that I am here tonight to share my experience with you. This is just my experience. If you choose to take my experience and apply it, that's your problem. I'm not telling you what to do. But I'm going to try to stick to things that have worked for me. And really, for a guy like me, I've had a lot of personal challenges. I don't have time to go into a lot of that. I grew up in a very difficult situation. There was alcoholism, there was mental problems, there was alienation, a lot of sadness, a lot of fear, you know. And you know what? It's almost, dysfunctional is almost like tattoos anymore. It's unusual if you don't have it, right? So anyway, probably not in this group. You all look real sharp, but anyway, so a lot of things that would have me. I mean, on the outside, I had a lot of opportunities that looked really good. But as I was looking at the people around me, I'm comparing my insides to their outsides, and I'm not measuring up. Can anybody relate to that? So, all right, I'm just double checking to see if there's a PowerPoint here, and I'm the only one who can't see it. So anyway, if you were to see the PowerPoint, you would see a picture that looks like this, okay? And the reason it looks like that is because when I was born, my dad said that I didn't even look very happy to be here, so it was like problems from the gate. He said, "You looked like a boxer that had just lost on points." That's what he said, okay? And so I've had an attitude problem my whole life, I suppose, right? Bad attitude, insubordinate, all of that stuff. So as I go out into the world, I'm thinking, shoot, I can't measure up. I don't think I can do this, right? I don't think I can do anything. But then something comes along called necessity. Anybody have a little necessity show up in their lives? There gets to be a certain point in your life, my experience, sorry, I broke my own rule there. In my experience, I got to a certain point where I found myself as a single dad with 3 kids, right? And basically a 2-year degree, an AA degree. I don't even know if that is a degree, but I got a piece of, anyway, so I got that, right? And basically a lot of personal issues, right? And unsuccessfully being in and out of therapy for 16 years on various medications and stuff like that. I mean, I failed a personality exam one time. That's really depressing, right? And I mean, I'm glad it's amusing now, but the day I failed it, I mean, you know, it was just me having a panic attack by myself. You guys weren't all there, so I had a lot of things working against me that I was really concerned about. I just didn't feel like I could do anything. But since we're on the theme of Bob Dylan, I was really scared that Josh was going to quote my Bob Dylan quote that I was going to bring tonight, which is, "When you got nothing..." You got nothing to lose. And that's where I found myself 4 years ago. I'd been laid off, which at the time seemed to be a problem, ended up being a favor. I was forced into a situation where I had to make something happen. And my what seemed like a prison actually turned into my freedom. I didn't owe anybody anything. Nobody owed anything to me. It was a totally clean slate. But the bills were coming. Get on it, Nick, right? And so I was at that point where it didn't matter anymore whether I thought I was good at something or not. And so I just found my PowerPoint, but it's over there. You guys see it? Oh, look at that. All right. Well, anyway, I'm on like the, I don't know, you better go to the last slide because, well, how about the boxer slide? Can you do the first one? There it is. Huh? Anybody recognize that movie? I'm pointing to where you guys can see. Anybody recognize it? This is the run-through, right? This isn't the real event, is it? No. Anyway, Robert De Niro, Raging Bull, right? Fighting Sugar Ray Robinson, right? Early on in the film, Sugar Ray Robinson just beating the snot out of him, right? But the fight goes the full distance. And at the final bell, even though De Niro couldn't even, or Jake LaMotta, who De Niro was playing, couldn't even really see, couldn't really walk. He had one more piece of business. Do you remember that? Goes over to Sugar Ray's corner, and he says, "Hey, Ray." He gets his attention. He says, "You never got me down, Ray. You hear me? You never got me down." I want to hear you guys say, "You never got me down." All right? If you have the capacity to make yourself optimistic and everything and go through a process in the morning where that just works for you and you're just naturally, a morning person and happy, great. But if not, there's another source of fuel that you can find with necessity that's basically, for me, it's faith-based, and that's not really what we're here talking about tonight, but just this basic idea that necessity can drive a certain amount of activities that will put something called the law of compensation in your favor. So I have built up over the last 4 years a database of 4,000 personal contacts, 3,966 technically. I really wanted to get to 4,000 before this event, but I had a hard drive problem and I lost a few, so. So this personal database, and what I do on a weekly basis is that I meet with 10 people a week for something. And I found that even if I'm doing poorly in my appointments, even if I don't know why I'm there, even if, even if I'm not very hopeful that anything good's going to happen, when I meet 10 people a week for something, the law of compensation cuts me checks and covers my bills. And here, I'm not this massive success story. I drove up tonight in a car that I can't afford, and I got to bring it back tonight, actually. But thank you to Mercedes-Benz for being a sponsor. Thank you also to Miracle Satellite, by the way, our title sponsor. So I got to bring that back after. But check out the Mercedes. Anyway, so I'm not here to talk about like a finished product. I'm talking about right here, right now, that I have this fundamental gratitude that I have one more day just to get in the game. You know what I mean? Just to get in the stadium, just to have a shot. In this great country, we got a shot, Just to, and what I found out is that I don't have to have this massive belief about my ability to get started. If I start, it's going to engage a certain amount of momentum, this law of compensation. And so that's what I stick to. I have a lot of ideas that flood my consciousness that try to distract me from a simple thing of getting in. How many people could get in front of 10 people a week if that was just like all you did for your business, right? Couldn't you? Somebody put a gun to your head, right? Took your kids for a little while and said, you don't get them back until you go to 10. You'd find a way. You know what I mean? You would find a way. And so that is what I roll with. You're going to hear a lot of great tools over the course of tonight. You're going to get a lot of education, and there's some phenomenal coaches and speakers that are coming. And I'm just sort of here to kind of fill in that little gap. If you feel like you're the one that's fallen through the cracks that's saying, I just don't think I can do that, it doesn't matter. You can start. If you have nothing to lose, you can forge ahead. And the last thing that I want to share is that, Jim Belisari and I did meet about 12 years ago in a place kind of like this. And Jim is the founder of Successful Thinkers. Has he done a phenomenal job with this? Okay. When I met, the house Jim was living in when I met him was 9,000 square feet. He had a water bill, I think, of like $800 a month. Acres and acres, just massive pool. I drove up in a Volvo that leaked oil, which probably got him in trouble with the homeowners association, but I didn't know anything about homeowners associations at the time, right? And I just remember seeing him on one of these stages, and I ran to the side just like that, right, to get up to him. And it was like casting a line to just try to start to reel myself toward him. I knew it was going to be a long cast, but just to get to him in his tux and say, I want to be with you. So just imagine what it feels like to hear what he just said tonight, as he introduced me to you, okay? I'm just a guy that had that fight that decided to say, you never got me down. Let's hear it one more time. All right, thank you. Good night.